I think that the sort of the tourist centre at Stratford-upon-Avon is missing out. That they've not got a brand of sort of chewy mints called Shakespeare's.
Yeah. Or like a canned spaghetti, a canned pasta that's microwavable called Shakespeare's. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. It's your boys Andy and John, and we are here to discuss some music. In particular, it's going to be a song that is offered up by John that I'm going to head out and listen to and come back and we're going to chop up. But before we can do any of that, I'm going to need to know what I'm working with. John, how do you and what do you have?
Not bad. Thanks for asking. And a song by the Stranglers in that
Oh,
order.
nice. Well, I'm glad you're great, but more importantly, I'm glad we're getting back to the Stranglers, though. In all sincerity, this is I've liked both the tracks that we've listened to. The sort of oddly chosen cover by them that they did of what was it, Dionne Warwick, as
Yeah.
well as Nice and Sleazy, which was just a great
Nice and
song.
sleazy. Does it
Yeah.
every time.
Yes, I really enjoyed that track a lot. Both of them, to be quite honest with you. So almost, I mean, completely different artists, but the same sort of anticipation on my part. As with Squid, I'm looking forward to giving another check out to the Stranglers here, having only listened to a couple of their tracks and wanting to mainline some more directly into the vein. So, what is the name of the track?
So yeah, there's some great tracks, but there's a couple that are really quite beloved by the great unwashed of our nation, and this is one of them that I think, well, it's kind of one that everyone knows who knows the Stranglers, but you don't know the Stranglers. So you really should know this song. And this song is No More Heroes.
Okay, No More Heroes. Interesting, evocative name there. Let me go check it out, Jones and two, and I will come back and let y'all know what I think. Okay. Really loved that odd start to the song. It was like the soundtrack to a bouncy ball being chucked in a very tight room and listening to it ricochet all over the place. Yeah, that was really cool. And then it kicks into this kind of synthy, danceable melody that we get. 8 seconds, right? Oh goodness.
Whatever happened to Leon Trotsky? He got an ice pick that made his ears burn.
If you had polled me and given me like, a million guesses as to the subject matter of the opening line of this song, I would have exhausted all 1 million efforts and failed. I didn't think that we were going to get an allusion to the murder of Leon Trotsky. Yeah, that is that one took me by surprise.
Whatever happened to dear old Lenny?
On that bass.
Mira and Sancho Panza. Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to all the heroes? All the Shakespeareos? They watch their own burn.
It's fabulous. Oh, okay. That needs to be talked about. So lovely how it came in with like this, jittery guitar lead. And if it would have just stood alone at that, that would have been fabulous, right? But then it again another one of these moments where one musician passes the baton to the next, and that synthy key kind of motif and lead takes over for notably longer than what the guitar had done, and fabulous. Sounded so good. And underneath it all is this main constant that I get when I've listened to now 3 tracks by the Stranglers, and that is this bass whose tone is so interesting and a little metallic in its sound, um, and so much deeper and richer than the rest of the music. So it kind of becomes like its own entity within these songs that I've listened to, and I've so far 3 for 3. I'm always so pleased to hear the bass in the Strangler songs, and I know that probably needs to be taken with a grain of salt considering I am the bass guy, but this is really good stuff. I enjoy it, and maybe I'll touch on that a bit at the end. But yeah, so far so good. I really, really did enjoy. I am enjoying this so far.
All of the heroes, all the Shakespeare's,
I knew that was coming.
they watch their own burn. Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? No more heroes anymore. No more heroes anymore. No more heroes anymore. No more heroes anymore.
Well, I like that ascending guitar. Yep. That is another great tune by the Stranglers in the book. Um, I I don't think it's my favorite of the ones I've heard so far, but man, all 3 of these are really good and they're kind of neck and neck. Maybe it's always for me going to be Nice and Sleazy because that was the first sort of my first experience with it, so it's kind of special to me or whatever. But yeah, they're just great at writing songs. And the thing that I was thinking about earlier, I sort of stopped myself and I said I'll wait till the end. Trying to word this in such a way that there's no offense taken by it because I don't mean it as a slight at all. In fact, I think it's a compliment. But these guys, while their sound isn't poppy, they can write a pop song under the guise or the umbrella of being, a post punk, new wave rock and roll, truly rock and roll song. But they do it in a way that has sort of this, what I would think would be mass appeal, or at least as close to mainstream appeal as you can get. This isn't top 40 or bubblegum shit, but they're packaging it and creating it in such a way that seems to me really accessible. And there are myriad bands that I've loved over the years and still do very much that kind of do the same thing. They're not pop bands, but they know how to inject pop elements into their songwriting. That is, I think, advantageous to them, and kind of good for the music scene as a whole because by casting a wider net in deploying that method, you draw in more people. Um, And I think it's always music and subgenres of music should be, I think, big tent and bring people together. Um, and this has this appeal. The sound of the song has this appeal that I think would definitely garner the attention of the masses. And it's fun and it's danceable, and it's energetic, all while still being very interesting, and not so, I don't know, same. Like it's not the same as other shit you're gonna turn the dial and land on. They're their own thing, but they do it in such a way that I think can draw plenty of listeners. So that's sort of a hats off to them in their ability to write catchy stuff that's still very much interesting and of the subgenre that they're rooted in. So all that out of the way, that is to say, really great song, fun experience listening to this one, and I'd be interested to learn more about it from John. So let's get back to him.
Officer Dibble, he's back. So you've had a listen to No More Heroes. What do you think of it?
This also was a lot of fun. Yeah, this is a really kind of infectious track by these guys who their sounds interesting. I'll wrap up with my thoughts on them as a group and what they're doing with their sound, or what I infer or feel about what I've heard from them thus far, now 3 songs in. But first, loved the odd manic nature of those first few seconds of the track. It was like the soundtrack of a bouncy ball being hurled and ricocheted around a room with tight walls, like just going everywhere quickly. And I really enjoyed that. There's this short-lived though, as quick rap on the snare carried us into the song proper, which has this synthy melody right out of the late 70s or early 80s playbook. But it was held up by that scratchy rumble of the bass beneath it, which is becoming sort of a trademark of their sound at this point for me, and one that I very much gravitate towards. I really enjoy the sound of the bass in their tracks. And I have to say though, if it pulled a million times before listening to this song, I would have never guessed that lyrically it began with a direct reference to Leon Trotsky's murder by an ice pick at the hands of Ramon or is it Mercader? The down in Mexico. Would have never thought that, oh yes, we're gonna get a little history lesson at the beginning of this.
Well, more for you then, eh?
Yeah, mid 20th century.
Should have seen that.
Politics. Yes, I did not. Yeah. But it was interesting, and I liked it just because I like history and politics, and that was interesting to kind of start with that. And these verses have such a danceable melody and tempo to them that it's actually really quite infectious, and it starts to just kind of like earworm you. And the chorus features some stellar drum rolls while the singer questions whatever happened to our heroes. And just after the chorus, there's some very fun and energetic lead guitar work that noodles through for about 20 or 25 seconds before then handing the baton to the synth keys, who does an even more superb job of noodling away. And it's just so much fun. And again, further underscores the infectious nature of this track. I also really like the line where he asks whatever happened to all of the heroes, all of the Shakespeareos, because I always wondered what happened to William Shakespeare's Italian cousin Shakespeare. And they're asking that age-old question too. So yeah, toward the end, they introduce this incrementally ascending guitar motif that blossoms into this full-on bendy assault of the strings, and the song abruptly comes to an end. And I gotta say, again, reflecting on these guys and their sounds, they have this really, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, because to me, this is a compliment to the highest degree. But they're clearly have a penchant for being able to write a pop song that can masquerade as a rock, new wave, or post-punk song. And again, I don't mean this to diminish their street cred or the seriousness of their musicianship. They have that in spades. But rather, I really do mean this as a compliment. This has the ability to have, and I don't know what it did when it came out, but if I were to hear this now, I would say this has mainstream appeal while not sacrificing what it's rooted in. And I can not only respect that, but I can also like name myriad of other bands that I gravitate towards who have taken from punk or who were the sons of punk or new wave, who were able to write songs that did make it to a larger audience than perhaps their favorite artists came from. And that is a skill set to be able to write something that takes something that's niche and to make it accessible to a wider audience is something not all people can do and not all artists can do. But this has some mass appeal to its sound. And I don't want to upset all the old school truists out there who are, don't want to hear that their taste in music has any mass appeal to it at all. Because that's the nature of gatekeeping when it comes to music, and I understand that. But look, you don't want to be a hipster. It's cool. It's okay. It's cool to have music and like music that can transcend just your 3 or 4 music buddies. You know what I mean? And these guys, I think, have the ability to do that. Why would they have chosen a song by Dionne Warwick to cover if they didn't know they could take it and make it different but still appeal to people? I like them a lot, and I like that attribute about them. I think it's one of the most impressive things that they do on top of the bass, because that's fucking awesome. But no, this is a really good song and a lot of fun to listen to. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, you make some interesting points there. It is a great song, and it is very infectious, and it is, beloved by many, many people. So a couple of things you raised there. I mean, Stranglers were never a punk band. They kind of got lumped in with it, and they had a bit of a punk attitude, and half quarter fraction of the sound, but they really were a pub rock band. And again, people use that phrase as almost an insult, and it's not. It's just the way they have actually got more in common with Enduring the Blockheads than they have with the Clash.
Yeah.
But the very nature of the really good examples of that genre, Dr. Feelgood as well, is fuckers could play. They really could, and they're so technically really, really, crafted musicians, a talent aside, put in the hours, and these guys exactly the same. So yeah, I mean, they had a number of top 20 hits, plenty, and as their sort of greatest hits will show, and they went down the road of going more and more poppy as time went on. One of the most favorite popular songs is Golden Brown. I really don't like that song at all, but that was like really, really popular. It's just there's nothing for me, there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, so they walk that line, and because of that, like you said, they were viewed with suspicion through various different sectors of the music because they didn't fit in with what they wanted to be. So the kids didn't like them, the music press didn't like them, etc., etc. But they sang in tunes, and that sort of gruffness of the vocals and of the bass gives it that feel. But the fucking craft of Dane Greenfield on keyboard is just amazing. It really is. Anyway, so this is from their second album of the same name, No More Heroes.
Yeah, that was a thumbnail.
So their debut album, Raticus Norveticus, came out in April 1977, and this came out in September 1977. Okay. You didn't hold back those days. Get them out while you're still hot. We have done a couple of episodes already. I'll put together as a playlist so you can go back and check out Nathan Sleazy and Walk On By. But just to reiterate the players within this episode, Hugh Cornwell, guitars, lead vocals for this track. They do swap some of the vocals around, but Jean-Jacques Burnel, bass guitar, backing vocals. Dave Greenfield, keyboards, many keyboards, backing vocals, and Jet Black, drums, percussion. So this was the second single from this album. It is one of their most successful and, as I said, beloved singles. It is always featured whenever there's a punk stroke new wave compilation album that comes out. There's about 5 songs that are always fucking on it. And this or Peaches are the 2 from the Stranglers that always get put onto there. And you can understand why. It did peak at number 8 in the UK singles chart, which is again really decent for a punk type band at that time. So, as you've referenced, the song lyrics refer to several historical figures, starting with the Marxist revolutionary Leon Trotsky. The second verse reels off Dear Old Lenny, which is, of course, the stand-up comedian and so-called punk comedian Lenny Bruce. The great Elmira is a painter and art forger, Elmira de Hore, and the character Sancho Panza from Don Quixote. And of course, we get William Shakespeare and then directly the Roman Emperor Nero rounding off the list. Interestingly, the band publishers threatened legal action against Elastica in 1995, arguing that their single Waking Up borrowed elements of No More Heroes. Elements is a very subtle way of putting bloody most of it. Elastica settled out of court, not for the first time, I have to say. I do like Elastica's first album a lot, hence we have it a part of it with our theme tune, mixed in with Wire. We're aware that came from as well. But yeah, she great talent, but she wasn't averse to taking inspiration, I think they call it. So yeah, album went down a storm. Yes, exactly. That's the other one. It's mine now. All music called No More Heroes faster, nastier, and better than Rattus and Orveticus. At this point, the Stranglers were on top of their game, and the ferocity and anger that suffuses this record would never be repeated. Trouser Press wrote that No More Heroes continues in the same vein as a debut album, but drops whatever hint of restraint may have been enforced in the first time around. Rude words and adult themes abound, with no punches pulled. Despite the increased virulence, the music is even better than on the debut, introducing pop stylings that would later become a more common aspect of the Stranglers' character. They said, and Transpress finished the review saying that No More Heroes is easily the Stranglers' best album. So I'll go through said lyrics. Whatever happened to Leon Trotsky? He got an ice pick that made his ears burn. Whatever happened to dear old Lenny, the great Elmira, and Sancho Panza? Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to all of the heroes? All the Shakespearos? They watched their Rome burn. Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? Then no more heroes anymore. No more heroes anymore. And then we go into that guitar break, which is quite nice, really simple, but really effective. Yeah. And then we go into that organ break, which is just fucking awesome. And the way it goes through and then kind of, does a cheeky little dance with the bass at the same time. And then it comes out with this sort of rhythmic. I just love that. So much. And then the vocals come back in. Whatever happened to all of the heroes, all the Shakespearos to watch their own burn? Whatever happened to the heroes? Whatever happened to the heroes? No more heroes anymore. 4 times and we're done. So Wow Vinyl website wrote about this song. With paper and pen outstretched in his hands, the adolescent fan approached the group. Lead singer Hugh Cornwell waved him away. Don't have heroes, he said tersely. Be your hero. That was the point of the song. The young must look to themselves for role models because there are no more heroes anymore. Cornwell later explained that the assortment of famous people and name checks in his lyrics were not traditional heroes, no shit, but anti-heroes. We might even call them punk heroes. And they go on to list why Trotsky was a punk and why Lenny Bruce was a punk, etc. The great Elmira, first Elmira de Hore, one of the great art forgers of the 20th century, who can surely be described as a punk artist. Despite wishing to make it as an artist in his own right, Elmira could only make money from his talent of copying the style of celebrated painters such as Picasso, Renoir, and Matisse. He would often sell the artwork as newly discovered paintings from the artist's estate. He denied that he was a forger because he insisted he never signed the work in the artist's name. That's nice of him. I do know that some of his stuff was so good that you even got forgers of his forgeries. That's how people will copy his forgeries. That's how good they were. And then another little point here is, and this is anecdotal, I don't have the sort of backup for this, but I believe from reading that on various sort of polls and stuff, that all the Shakespeareos has been voted one of the worst top 10 lyrics of all time in a few sort of muso magazines. However, when Shakespeare in Love unbelievably won Best Picture at the Oscars, I mean, well gone mad. One of the producers got on stage and said that he would like to thank all the heroes, all the Shakespeareos. So
That's great. That's great. Nice little shout out.
And I think that the sort of the tourist centre at Stratford upon Avon is missing out, that they've not got a brand of sort of chewy mints called Shakespeareos.
Or like a canned spaghetti, a canned pasta that's microwavable called Shakespeareos. Like spaghetti.
Hey.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I love this song. It's one of these ones that's ingrained in you from a kid, I think, in this country, if you're into cassette music. There was an episode, actually, we talked about this in a recent we did Life on Mars. I was telling you about the cop who goes back in time,
Yeah.
And there's a bit where the start of, I think it's the second series, they're sort of in the Docklands, which is told back then. And the main guy, GG, comes in on a speedboat. They've all got like shotguns, and this music's playing. Whatever happened to the heroes? It's just iconic, really cool. But it's great. And I do think Dave Greenfield's keyboard work on this is, I mean, there's again, phenomenal. People lazily would say a bit of the Doors in there, but it's his own bloody work. It is just great. Even from the verse, that sort of tinkling bit is the poppy, catchy hook, which leads you on. And then you got the dirty bass, which is great, and the guitar and the growl and vocals. But it is totally that keyboard that leads you all the way down, and from the time you're there, you're sold. So yeah, really, really great stuff. Another one, and there's plenty of others.
Well, I look forward to hearing some of their other stuff, because so far they're 3 for 3 in my book.
Yeah, cool, excellent. Well, there's plenty more. I should wrap things up.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to Sandy.
Thank you.
Thanks to Leon and Lenny as well for making their appearance. Folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, do hit the like button, drop some comments about this song, about this album. Something Better Change, I think, was the other single off this one. Yeah, I'm sure it was. If it wasn't, tell me in the comments. But yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do, and make our day. We really appreciate everybody who supports the channel. That being said, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Well done, you. And we will see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.